So we are looking at the problems encountered when comparing national income in developing countries. These problems are divided into two. So we have conceptual and then statistical. So going for the conceptual ones, so the conceptual, these are problems that arise due to failure among economists to have a uniform or a universal understanding of the definition of national income. So these problems originate due to failure by economists to agree about what to include and what to exclude when comparing national income figures. So we had looked at some of them, like the transfer payments. We said they should not be included. Then we have incomes from illegal activities such as smuggling, prostitution, etc. should not be included. Those ones give us a highlight of the conceptual problems that some economists say they should be included, while others say they should not be included. So those are problems that arise due to failure by economists to agree. So let us look at them. So I'm beginning with problem of defining the boundary of production. So this is concerned with which items to be included or excluded when estimating national income. So for example, we have child labor or the services of a housewife be included or excluded when comparing national income. So some activities regarded illegal in one way and regarded as illegal in others. So here we are looking at the services, for example, of child labor when you are working at home and maybe it is in your father's business or family business and then you are not paid, but in actual sense you are giving labor which should be paid. Then you have services of a housewife at home. She prepares food and does all the housework as needed, so her services are not converted into monetary terms and therefore not included. Then in some countries, some activities are legal, and in other countries, those activities are illegal. So you find that in one country, some incomes from such activities are included, and in others, they are excluded. So I'm saying, therefore, those who compute national income find a problem in selecting the activities to be included or excluded. So that is to do with boundary of production. Then we have a problem of subsistence output, or what we are calling non-marketed output. So it is difficult to know which activities to include in subsistence production when estimating national income, since there are many small-scale farms geographically dispersed that are engaged in production on a subsistence basis. So here we are having a problem of subsistence output. And remember, this output is not put on the market for sale, and therefore it becomes hard to include it in national income figures. But it should be included because it is also an output. It is produced and used for one's own consumption. Then we have problem of unpaid for services. So some services are rendered, but they are not paid for. Example, so we have family labor and services of a housewife. So these services are not paid for, and it becomes very hard for economists to include them in the measurement of national income. And then also have a problem of failure to distinguish between intermediate and final output. Because in measuring national income, we only consider final output. So we are saying only final goods should be considered when comparing national income. And we are saying, however, it is not always clear whether a particular commodity is an intermediate or a final good. So for example, when we look at sugar, it can be used as an intermediate good in the production of sweets, as well as a final good for domestic use. So in the end, we failed to get the sugar that was used as an intermediate and then final output. So we are saying in the end that leads to double counting. Then we have problem of illegal activities. They are saying income earned through illegal activities such as gambling, smuggling, and prostitution should be excluded when measuring national income. But someone will not clearly tell you that this income or this money I have is from this activity. So I'm saying, however, it is difficult to identify such incomes and activities considered illegal in one country may be illegal in another. So we might be saying it is illegal in one country, but when in the other country it is illegal. And then it also becomes hard for someone to tell you their source of income if they know it is from illegal activities. Then we have problem of transfer payments. So I'm saying during the course of the year, some individuals get income without corresponding goods produced or services rendered. So these transfer payments should be excluded when measuring national income. So we are saying, however, they are sometimes included because it is difficult to differentiate them. So some people do not differentiate transfer payments from non-transfer payments. So it becomes hard to exclude them. Then we have as well a problem of timing production. So it is very difficult to determine the output produced in a country during a particular year. So this is true, especially for agricultural output, in which it becomes hard whether to consider the time of production or the time of harvesting. So some goods are planted in 1 year, and then the harvesting is done in the following year. So it becomes hard to know whether it should be valued at the time of production or at the time of harvesting. Then have problems of inventories and work in progress. They're saying this basically considers goods that are produced in one accounting period and sold in another accounting period. So we can have one goods produced in one year and sold in another year. So there a problem arises whether it should be included in the current or in the next period. Then we have a problem of difficulty in choosing the method of measuring national income. So we looked at 3 methods, which is income, expenditure, and value added. And all those 3 methods should give us the same values, but however, in reality, these methods may not yield the same results, especially where there are no adjustments. So all the 3 methods cannot give us the same values, and then it becomes difficult for one to choose which method should be used to give the correct values of the national income. Then we have statistical problems. So these are problems to do with the correction and accuracy of national income figures. So here we focus on challenges that are likely to make national income figures accurate or inaccurate or unreliable. So these ones that do with collection and accuracy of the figures that are collected. So the first one, we have inadequate statistical data. So developing countries have limited information on incomes, expenditure, and output. So this is mainly due to absence of proper record keeping by producers and consumers, and the willingness of people to disclose their incomes and expenditure for many reasons. So this may lead to misleading national income figures. So we are saying in developing countries, we are unable to do proper record keeping, and that means when that data is required, it will not be available as we don't keep it. Then we are also not willing to disclose the incomes and expenditure for reasons well known to us. So this in the end leads to misleading national income figures. Then we have limited skilled manpower. So there are few qualified statisticians, economists, accountants with the necessary skills required to compute with accuracy the national income statistics. So we have limited skilled manpower to deal with national income figures. Then we have problems of price changes. So over and over prices keep on changing from period to period, from time to time, and that is also another problem. So I'm saying where national income is varied at current market prices of goods and services, price changes affect the value of national income. So I'm saying an increase in the general price level leads to an increase in national income, but the production remains the same, or it might have even fallen. And yet we would expect that when national income is high, there is also high production of goods and services. But here, if the prices increase, national income will increase, but without a corresponding increase in production. Then we are saying on the contrary, a fall in the general price level of goods and services leads to a decrease in national income, yet actual production might have increased. So as prices reduce, the national income will as well reduce, but that one may happen when there is an increase in production, and an increase in production would just signify that there is an increase in national income. Then we have problems of statistical errors. So we are saying the process of compiling national income statistics is subject to many errors, such as errors of omission and commission, which bring about wrong totals of national income figures. So to deal with which items not to include and which ones to include, so all that will lead to wrong totals. Then also have difficulty in calculating the value of depreciation. So saying as capital assets are used in the production process, they lose value. So they lose value, and it becomes hard to determine the amount of value lost. So I'm saying, however, it is difficult to measure with accuracy the value of depreciation, since different firms use different methods of calculating this value. So it becomes hard to value the depreciation cost. Then also have problem of double counting. So I think this refers to estimating the value of an item more than once when comparing national income statistics. So this arises due to failure to distinguish between intermediate and final goods, and as well failure to identify transfer payments. So this may lead to exaggerated national income figures. So with the double counting, we are saying is where we count an item more than once. For example, when we fail to distinguish between an intermediate and a final good. So we are going to count it first of all as a final good. Then when it is also used to produce another good, we again value that good produced. So we shall have counted such an item 2 times. But then when we compute someone's payment, and then he makes a transfer payment to another individual, and because of our failure to identify it, we again include it, then we shall have counted that amount of money 2 times, or that amount of income twice. So that will as well lead to high national income when the income is what? Is double counted. Then also have problem of estimating net income from abroad. So we're saying it is difficult to get information on the incomes earned by nationals working abroad and on incomes of foreigners living within the country. So it is hard for us, for the country, to know the income that is earned by the Ugandans that are working outside outside Uganda, and the incomes of foreigners who are working here. So it becomes hard to calculate the net income from abroad. Then we have inadequate facilities and equipment to use. That is building, collecting, organizing, summarizing, and interpreting the data. For example, there is shortage of funds and computers required to carry out the exercise successfully. So it becomes hard to do the process because of lack of funds and lack of computers to collect, store, process the data that is collected. Then we have difficulty in determining government expenditure. So we are saying where the expenditure approach is used, it is difficult to estimate government expenditure since it provides a number of services like education, healthcare, transport, police and military services, among others. So because there are many, we may fail to estimate how much the government spends on the provision of public services. So it becomes hard to use that expenditure approach, and it may give us wrong values. Then have problem of valuing subsistence output. So the value, so it becomes difficult to attach monetary value to the output that is produced for one's own consumption. So you can't now go and ask someone how much how many quantities of maybe what they eat, how much they harvest for their eat, and etc. So it becomes hard to value, to change the output of subsistence sector to monetary value. Then we have problems of valuing inventories and work in progress. So it becomes hard to value it, whether it should be given a positive or negative. Remember, it is between 2 years, so we can decide to give it a positive or a negative depending on the year. So saying the value of changes in inventories is added and subtracted from the current production of the farm. However, it is difficult to value the stock of unsold goods and work in progress. So it becomes difficult to value that out. Then we have problem of valuing unpaid for services. So it becomes difficult to value the services you render to the family. So that is family labor and the services of the housewife. So as a result, such activities are ignored, leading to underestimation of national income. So remember, those services are productive and therefore should be added. But because of failure because they are unpaid for, then it becomes difficult to value those services. So that brings us to the end of the problems encountered while computing national income figures. So we shall begin from there next time.